Hey, how are you holding up? Wait, where are you right now? It had been a week since my husband and in-laws moved without telling me anything. That's when I received the call. Huh? Why do I have to say anything about that? Are you stupid? What's with that tone? Seriously, such a noisy woman. I'll forgive you if you apologize. And if you do the housework as a maid, I'll even give you a spare key. How about that? Sounds like a good deal, right? I couldn't help but sigh at the absurdity. Who would do such a thing? Coming from someone as useless as you. Isn't that more about you? Huh? How dare you? I could tell my husband was talking to someone else over the phone. Yeah? Okay, got it. That person was likely. My mom says she wants to talk. Switching to my mother-in-law without my consent. Hello, can you hear me? I can hear you, but... You're alive then. What did you say? Because you're unemployed now, right? I've heard. You've tricked me, haven't you? Such a trashy woman. My husband was probably lying to his mom to protect his pride. Who's the real trash here? What should I do? Why are you silent? Hurry up and say something. Hearing those words made my blood boil. It's not nice, but I decided to set this misunderstanding grandma straight over the phone. About the truth of my husband. The truth is, it wasn't me who got fired. That's pathetic now. Isn't that more about you? Huh? You've got to be kidding. My mother-in-law seemed unable to contain her irritation. I'm not joking. After all, the luxury you've been living in is thanks to me. Cut it out, will you? I never thought it would be this hard to understand each other. Spending more time trying to explain the truth would likely be futile. That's when I made up my mind. If that's how it is, I'm gonna divorce my useless, fired husband. Huh? Do you even understand what you're saying? You're the one who's gonna suffer if you do that. Don't worry about me. Actually, you should be the one worried. This is pointless. If you're gonna hang up, you might want to check into the firing story. After I said that, the call ended. About 5 minutes later, my husband called again. Probably after hearing from his mother-in-law. But I didn't answer. Let them struggle more from now on. And so, I waited for an opportunity. Thanks to that, what awaited my husband and in-laws wasn't just any hell. I'm Mary, and my siblings and I run a company that's been in our family since my grandfather's time. My brother Ian is the president, and my sister Yvonne works as an executive. As for me, I'm the manager of several apartment buildings inherited from my father. I make enough from rent to live comfortably. I met my husband Ken when I was 33. He was introduced by my sister Yvonne. Why don't you get married soon, sis? Eh? What's this all of a sudden? You're not getting any younger, so I thought it's about time. How am I supposed to get married without a partner? Leave that to me. A week later, she introduced me to Ken, a friend from her college days. My first impression was that he was a good-looking young man with a nice face. Having focused on work all my life, I had no idea what to talk about. Well then, you two have fun. Hey, Yvonne! My sister left laughing. She left us behind. Since she's a friend of my sister, she must be younger than me. I need to act more maturely. So, shall we go? Yes. Both of us, still nervous, decided to enter a nearby restaurant. We ordered drinks and downed them quickly. It helped us relax. Sorry about today. Yvonne just went ahead and... It's okay. Actually, I was a bit curious to meet you. Really? That means... Actually, I've heard a lot about you from Yvonne since college. She always talked about you. Oh, come on, Yvonne. Ken mentioned that Yvonne always bragged about me. After spending about 2 hours together, we decided to part ways for the day. Well then, see you around. Wait, could we exchange contact information if you don't mind? Right. We haven't done that yet. And so, we exchanged numbers and started going on regular dates. So, when are you getting married, sis? It's too early for that. Not really. How long have you been dating? About 6 months. Then there's no problem. You say that like it's none of your business. Actually, Ken confessed to me a week after Yvonne introduced us. I was surprised, but it didn't feel bad. I accepted his proposal. And then, half a year passed. I had thought about getting married eventually, but I hesitated to bring it up myself. Being older, I worried that it might pressure him if I were the one to mention it. Then one day. I have something important to talk about today. Got it. I'll meet you at our usual spot after work. See you then. The call came right during lunch break, and I could barely concentrate on work for the rest of the afternoon. No wonder. Anyone would be conscious after hearing such a thing. That day, I received a marriage proposal. I had braced myself somewhat, but when actually asked to marry, I couldn't help but wonder if I was truly the right choice. So, what's your answer? Please, I'd be honored. However, the real challenge was yet to come. Next was meeting the parents. Both of my parents welcomed the idea of marriage warmly. All that was left was greeting my in-laws. But what about meeting Ken's parents? Well, about that. Ken's expression was dark. To me, it even seemed like he didn't want to go. I need to ask you something. I'd like you to keep quiet about Mary's job. What do you mean? My dad's okay with it, but my mom. According to Ken, his mother-in-law had an unusually high pride and believed it was unthinkable for a wife to earn more than her husband. It seemed that his late grandmother had the same personality, and his mother had fully inherited it. So, please, just go along with the story I tell. Ken asked me with a serious look. After being put in that position, I couldn't say no, but I was still worried. Hiding it is fine, but can we keep it hidden forever? I think it'll be okay. He didn't explain the details at that moment, but I had no choice but to trust his words. And so, a week later, we were on our way to his parents' house. Are you okay? I'm getting a bit nervous. I'm here with you. Just remember what we discussed beforehand. I know. Ken pressed the doorbell, and his mother-in-law greeted us. Good of you to come. Come on in. Thank you for having us. As we were led to the living room, his father was also waiting there. Good to see you. Have a seat. Okay. Glancing sideways, I could see Ken seemed nervous too. We have something important to discuss. I intend to marry Mary here. Is that so? Does Mary work? I knew this question was coming. We had planned for this. And I was supposed to say I was doing temp office work. It wasn't entirely a lie, I did occasionally help out at my brother's company. That's why we decided on that story. I'm currently doing office work. I see. And what does your father think? He's fine with it. So, we can get married then? Yes. There's no reason to oppose. Thank you. While making small talk, I excused myself to use the restroom. But as I was about to return to the living room. Wait a minute. Yes? I thought it was bad timing to run into her. What's that all about? What do you mean? Wearing something that looks so expensive. She was pointing at my necklace. Oh, this is. You're going to be a wife now. You don't need such things. Take it off right here. Huh? Shall I help you take it off? My mother-in-law tried to grab my necklace. I can manage, thank you. I quickly took off the necklace. After all, it was a birthday gift from Ken. I tried to explain that several times, but it seemed she took my explanations as excuses. And I don't like your outfit either. Showing so much leg. It's indecent. Why did I have to be criticized like this? Ken must have thought I was taking too long because he came to check on me. What are you doing here? Just getting caught up in a conversation. We'll be right back. Okay. Got it. My mother-in-law cut off my words. Remember what I said, okay? I'll be checking on you regularly. Your response? Yes, understood. I had no right to refuse at that moment. It's more accurate to say I was tired of being unilaterally lectured. I did return to the living room, but I didn't initiate any conversation. I didn't want to say anything that might invite criticism. Something wrong? It's nothing. I thought to myself whose fault it was, but it wouldn't help to take that attitude with Ken. All I wanted was to leave this house as soon as possible. I can't really remember what we talked about after that. In the end, we got their tentative approval and we went back to Ken's place. For starters, we need to look for a place for the two of us to live. Yeah, that's true. We went to see some properties, but I couldn't get my mother-in-law's words out of my head. Before I knew it, I had signed a lease in my own name. I hadn't considered this would become a significant issue later on. Thus, we became husband and wife, but the smooth sailing of our marriage was only at the beginning. For now, let's try to keep it hidden from my mom. Can we really keep doing that? It'll be fine. I was anything but reassured by Ken's baseless confidence. And that became a reality. We tried to live as independently from his parents as possible. A month after getting married, I came home from work to find my mother-in-law unexpectedly at our place. What? Why are you here? Well, I came to check on you. But why are you home this late? I was at work. You're doing office work, right? Isn't it too late for that? I glanced at Ken, who was shaking his head slightly. He seemed to be signaling to keep up the facade. I had to stay late today. And you weren't out having fun before coming home? I didn't do anything like that. We'll see about that. Mom, isn't that enough? But anyway, we're doing just fine without any problems. With that, Ken's mother seemed convinced and left, looking a bit dejected. I'm sorry. I didn't think she'd come over. Shouldn't we just tell her the truth? It's fine. Leave it to me. But technically, we're still deceiving her. Enough. Don't keep saying the same thing. Was it really necessary for me to be spoken to like this? Despite being newly married, I was slowly becoming distrustful of Ken. However, there was a silver lining. Perhaps Ken's words had an effect, as his mother stopped coming over. I thought we could finally relax, but then, one day at noon, I noticed something odd. Why are Ken's shoes here? I entered the house apprehensively. There he was, sprawled on the couch, drinking beer. What are you doing? Whoa! He was so surprised that he dropped his beer can. Why are you here? I came back because I forgot something. More importantly, what happened to work? I wasn't feeling well, so I left early. But you seem well enough to drink, I see. Come on. They say alcohol is the best medicine. But you seem to have had quite a bit already. Looking at the table, there were already 6 beer cans open. That's only beneficial in moderation. Drinking too much defeats the purpose. Ken went silent. I headed to the bedroom to retrieve the document I had forgotten. Glancing into the living room, despite my earlier warning, he was now chugging sake. Cut it out, will you? Huh? Shouldn't you be more worried about the time? I'll hear all about it when I get back. Take care. I really wanted to grill him right there, but like Ken said, I was running out of time. Is something bothering you? No, not really. You look down, just like your brother said. Sorry. I'm really fine. Is it something to do with Ken? Why would you think that? Just a hunch. That's about all I can think of. I didn't know what to say. Let's just focus on work for now. Yeah. Right. After work, my siblings and I gathered. So, what's bothering you? Well, you don't have to tell anyone else. So, you can talk freely. Thank you. That's when I explained about my mother-in-law and the current situation with Ken. That's... Sorry. I had no idea things had gotten that bad. It's not Yvonne's fault. But what are you going to do now? Should I talk to him? That would just make things worse. Besides, didn't we agree to keep this between us? Maybe, but I was touched that they had given it so much thought. For now, I'll try to talk to him in more detail. That sounds good. I'm here to help whenever you need it. Thanks, I'll count on you then. After this conversation, I went back home. However, Ken wasn't there. The alcohol had been neatly cleaned up. Where had he gone? I tried calling him, but got no response. Ken didn't return until the next morning. Where have you been? I had to go to my parents' house suddenly. Mom called me out of the blue. What's so funny about that? Huh? You didn't answer your phone. Were you really at your parents' house? You could have at least called. What are you trying to say? If that's the case, call my mom. Stop talking nonsense. It was time to leave for work, so I left the house. When I arrived at work, I received a call from my mother-in-law. Hello? What have you done now? I don't understand what you mean. You doubted Ken? Well, he didn't answer his phone. To get mad over something like that. You're such a petty woman. She continued to berate me, eventually calling me useless. I couldn't just take it anymore and snapped back. I don't deserve to be spoken to like that. What did you say? That's how it is, so please don't talk about nonsense. I have work to do, goodbye. I hung up the phone unilaterally. Having held back for so long, I felt incredibly relieved. Feeling accomplished after a hard day's work, I returned home only to be met with Ken lashing out. You said something terrible to my mom? It wasn't terrible. I just stated the obvious. Don't joke around. What do you think of my parents? If you didn't want to be doubted, then you shouldn't have done anything suspicious. Fine. Then I have my own plans. Saying that, he started making a phone call with a smirk. After the call, Ken said, "Look forward to it." The situation took a drastic turn 3 days later. What's going on? Boxes were being carried into the house one after another. Confused, I saw Ken return with his parents. Why are you so surprised? I told you to look forward to it. We'll be in your care from now on. I'm just following my parents' wishes. That's when I realized everything. Without telling me, Ken had planned for us to live together. That phone call was about this. Isn't this a bit too much? Oh, why? Ken suggested we live together because he was worried about us. Such a wonderful son. But there's no room available. That's strange. Ken told us there were 2 rooms free. Those 2 rooms were meant for when we had children. Not for living with his parents. But with the moving already done, there was nothing I could do. From that day on, my life became a nightmare. Isn't breakfast ready yet? It's too early for that. That's not our concern. It would be different if I had overslept, but it was still 5 a.m. From that day, I started waking up at 4 a.m. And this was just the beginning. Triggered by a certain event, I decided to take revenge on Ken and his family. It became my responsibility to do all the housework. It was not because I wanted to, but because no one else would do it. Fearing I would collapse under the pressure, I sought advice from my brothers again. What the heck? That's unbelievable. Leave it to us. After work, my brothers came over to have a word with Ken and his family. What's up with you guys? And Yvonne too, what's going on? We heard you've been doing whatever you want? That's not true. Really? Moving in without asking, leaving all the housework to Mary? That's not right. There's been some misunderstanding. Just leave it to me. I'll explain everything to our parents. Is that so? Are we good with that? I felt guilty for relying on my brothers, but I couldn't impose on them any further. That's fine. Thanks. That day, Ken's parents were out. I can't imagine what would have happened if they were home. You really did something unnecessary. If you hadn't started this, none of this would have happened. Aren't you ashamed to rely on your siblings? As Ken and I were arguing, his parents returned. What's all this noise? We could hear you from outside. Listen to this. Mary went and tattled to her brothers. Tattled? Yeah. She made us out to be the bad guys. The nerve, considering your place. The real problem is you. Moving in without asking, not doing anything around the house. That goes without saying. It seems a punishment is necessary. Ken was plotting something as a punishment for speaking out. We can't have them coming over again. Ah. I've got an idea. Ken whispered to his mother-in-law. That's a good idea. Your siblings run a business, right? Yes, but imagine if their company got a bad reputation. It could ruin them. What are you planning? It's like this. Ken showed me his phone, displaying false accusations about my brother's company. If you listen to us, we'll leave this alone. But if you step out of line again, you'll spread this online? That's the deal. Don't pull a stunt like this again. It was a threat. To protect my brothers, I had no choice but to comply. But Ken's tyranny didn't stop there. One day when his parents were out. I think you've realized, but I've quit my job. Did you quit on your own? What are you implying? Just curious. At this point, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like Mary said, I was fired. Why? That's irrelevant. I knew I had to tread carefully. Don't tell your parents. Why not? It's obvious, isn't it? What about our living expenses? Ken fell silent. Well, I'll have to figure it out. I've been covering the rent and living expenses anyway. Anyway, don't you do anything unnecessary. Half a year had passed, and to Ken and his family, I had become almost like a slave. I could only despair about how long this life would continue. I was at my brother's company for an important meeting that day. It lasted until the evening, and I didn't get home until past 8 p.m. Upon arriving, I immediately noticed something was wrong. There was no sign of anyone. Entering the house, I was speechless at the sight before me. Everything looked barren. Could it be? I checked every room, but all the belongings were gone. I just sat down on the floor, overwhelmed. I called my brother. What's up? I need you to come over to the house right now. Got it. I'll be there soon. 30 minutes later, my brother arrived with my sister. What the hell happened here? There's nothing left. They moved out without telling me. Seriously, why would they do this? Huh? What's this? What is it? I saw something on the table. Huh? What my brother found was a note seemingly written by Ken. It read, "We don't need you. So, we've decided to move out. We've kindly used the money from the dresser." What's this money from the dresser he's talking about? I rushed to check the dresser in the bedroom. All the money I had hidden away was gone. Could it be gone? It's all been taken. There was nearly $20,000 in there. I messed up. I never thought they'd find it. But what are we going to do now? I had no immediate answer to my brother's question. However, my sister's words reminded me of something important. But why would they do this? What benefit do they get from such actions? What do you mean? Because this could easily lead to a divorce, couldn't it? That's right. Yes. Thank you. Okay. The situation Ken and his parents had left me in was actually a golden opportunity for me. Are you smirking? Yeah. It's kinda scary. Can I talk to you for a sec? I explained my plan to them. There's a lot I want to ask, but if Mary has decided, then it's fine. I was the one who introduced Ken, but go ahead and do what you must. I deliberately didn't contact them, expecting that they would reach out to me, given their personalities. So, I waited. A week after Ken and his family had left. "Hey! How are you holding up?" The call came from Ken as I expected. "Wait, where are you right now?" "Huh? Why do I have to say anything about that? Are you stupid? What's with that tone? Seriously, such a noisy woman. I'll forgive you if you apologize. And if you do the housework as a maid, I'll even give you a spare key. How about that? Sounds like a good deal, right?" I couldn't help but sigh at the absurdity. Who would do such a thing? Coming from someone as useless as you. Isn't that more about you? Huh? How dare you? I could tell Ken was talking to someone else over the phone. Yeah, got it. The person on the other end was probably. My mom says she wants to talk. Wait a second. Without my consent, the phone was handed over to my mother-in-law. "Hello, can you hear me?" "I can hear you, but..." "You're alive then." "What did you say?" "Because you're unemployed now, right?" "I've heard. You've tricked me, haven't you?" Such a trashy woman. Ken had lied to his mom to protect his pride. Who's the real trash here? What to do? Why are you silent? Hurry up and say something. Hearing those words made my blood boil. It's not nice, but I decided to set this misunderstanding grandma straight over the phone. About the truth of my husband. The truth is, it wasn't me who got fired. Oh? What are you talking about? You're looking pathetic now. Pathetic is more like you. Huh? Don't be ridiculous. My mother-in-law seemed unable to contain her irritation. I'm not joking. After all, the luxury you've been living in is thanks to me. Cut it out, will you? I never thought it would be this hard to understand each other. Spending more time trying to explain the truth would likely be futile. That's when I made up my mind. If that's how it is, I'm gonna divorce your useless, fired husband. Huh? Do you even understand what you're saying? You're the one who's gonna suffer if you do that. Don't worry about me. Actually, you should be the one worried. This is pointless. If you're going to hang up, you might want to check into the firing story. After I said that, the call ended. About 5 minutes later, Ken called again. Probably after hearing from his mother. But I didn't answer the phone. Let them struggle more from now on. And so, I waited. Thanks to that, what awaited Ken and his parents wasn't just any hell. A month later, Ken contacted me again. Of course, during this month, I had been preparing various things. I have nothing to talk to you about. Wait. Won't you consider living together again? Why would I? Because. Let me guess. You're after my money, right? I absolutely refuse. You left on your own, so it's your responsibility. Good luck. Don't say that. Aren't we a couple? You might have heard from your mom, but I intend to divorce you. What? That's just how it is. Don't contact me again. I thought it was over, but it wasn't that simple. The next day, Ken and his parents showed up at the house. Again? It's not like that. I've heard everything from Ken. And? I'm really sorry. Go on, Ken, apologize. I'm really sorry. Can we start over? That's too convenient, isn't it? I know that. But I'm asking you anyway. How foolish can they get? No matter how much they apologized, I had no intention of forgiving them. I'm sorry, but it's impossible. Please leave. We won't be able to live like this. But you took the money from the house, didn't you? Don't tell me you've spent it all. It's gone, spent on moving and such. I couldn't help but laugh. Right. I had something to give you. Wait here. What is it? I went to the living room, grabbed something, and returned to the entrance. Here, this. What I handed Ken was a divorce application. This is. You can see, can't you? It's a divorce application. There's no way this will be accepted. Saying that, he tore it up and threw it away. Do you realize what you're doing? Ken. I'll never divorce. Well, that's fine by me. Either way, I was thinking of consulting a lawyer. Could you please leave for now? The discussion isn't over yet. Either way, we can't live together anymore after causing such a fuss. Let's just go back for today. Wait. Ken was dragged away by his parents. I then went to consult with a lawyer introduced by my brother. The final touch was still pending. You saved me. Thank you. Is that so? Are you okay now? Yes. It's more secure to go through a lawyer for the divorce. But I have a favor to ask. If it's something I can do, just tell me. Actually. After that, I had my brother help me find a new house. He knew someone who ran a real estate business. I quickly signed a contract and moved into my new home. Of course, I didn't tell Ken anything. Well, there was no reason to. As expected, I soon received a call from Ken. Did you go to the house? Where are you now? I'm not going to tell you. I had been hearing about Ken and his family's situation through Yvonne. It seems he's still unemployed and living with his in-laws. Given the situation, his in-laws would need to work. But the idea of that stubborn mother-in-law working is laughable. And you're still unemployed, I hear. How do you know that? I'm not going to tell you. What? And please pass a message to your mom. Tell her good luck. Bye now. Ken and his family will probably face even more hell from now on. As for me, I'm living freely in my new home. I even welcomed a new family member. I started raising a chihuahua, something I had always wanted. This little one is all I need. From now on, I'll live my life with this little companion.